Hi, I'm Nigel Kent.
And I'm Jasmine Starr.
And welcome to Trouble in Paradise, where we're going to do another wrap-up episode, a video-only episode following up on the 3 previous episodes that we've produced about Lauren Dumolo, the Cape Coral woman who vanished the 3rd week of June of this year. We have some compelling new detail provided by people close to the case, and we want to share that with you in the interest of getting Lauren home and getting this case solved. Real quick shout out to Ken and Lauren at Paradise After Dark podcast who helped us produce the previous episode. They did the audio version of the previous episode, which was edited very well, and I understand that it's already been downloaded 1,000 times. So,
that's incredible,
Yes.
and getting the information out there.
Yes, absolutely. That's 1,000 more people that know about Lauren Dumolo's situation, and hopefully 1,000 more people that can get her safely returned home. So just so everybody knows, every one of our videos spells out exactly how to reach us, Jasmine and I, directly. So if somebody wants to criticize us, make a suggestion, give us an idea, submit something, Jasmine can tell you how to get a hold of us.
Yes, you can contact us at Tipcast239 on Twitter, Trouble239 on Instagram, trouble@trouble239.com to email us. This is a video-only edition. You can watch this on YouTube at Trouble in Paradise. Our audio versions are available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Stitcher.
And we don't normally do true crime. If true crime is your thing, you definitely got to follow the Paradise After Dark podcast. That's the other Paradisian podcast.
Yes.
But good people, Ken and Lauren. So here's what we've gleaned together from the news reporting and from information given us to people close to the Lauren Dumolo case. And when we say people close to the case, this may include police, private investigators, family and friends, Lauren's co-workers, citizen investigators such as ourselves, and other people. First of all, thank you all for reaching out. We understand these people's desire for anonymity in many cases, and we thank them for helping us and Lauren's family to bring her home.
The last time Lauren's family spoke with Lauren was the evening of Thursday, June 18th. Lauren told family she would talk to them the next day. Family texted and called her then next Friday on June 19th with no response. Later that evening, her boyfriend Gabriel called Paul Dumolo, Lauren's father.
During this call, Gabriel told Paul Dumolo that Lauren was there at her apartment the morning of June 19th. Saturday, June 20th, Paul Dumolo called Gabriel back to ask if Lauren ever came home. Gabriel said no.
At this point, Paul Dumolo immediately called the police to request a wellness check. At that point, Cape Coral PD went to Lauren's apartment but got no answer. Paul Dumolo called Gabriel back and told him to call back when he got home and let him know if Lauren was home. Paul Dumolo instructed Gabriel to file a missing person report if she was still not home. Gabriel's response was he was not going home to Lauren's apartment. Instead, he was going to stay at a friend's house.
The next day, Sunday, June 21st, Father's Day, Lauren did not call her father, Paul. At that point, somebody close to the case asked Gabriel and Lauren's mother and her mother's boyfriend, who live in the Bimini Garden apartments next to the park, where Lauren purportedly was last seen by somebody other than Gabriel, to file a report. A person close to the case asked Gabriel and Lauren's mother's boyfriend to call Cape Coral PD if Lauren wasn't home and have the police walk through and file a report. This is a quote from this source, quote, after hours of us begging them to do something, Gabriel and Lauren's mother's boyfriend finally went to Lauren's house, unquote.
Gabriel and Lauren's mother's boyfriend said they went to the house, called Cape Coral PD, and that the police never showed up. Paul Dumolo called the Cape Coral Police Department and confirmed they never received such a call. At that point, somebody who we can't identify called Gabriel back and basically told him if he didn't file a report, he, quote, would be sorry.
Finally, Gabriel went to and filed the missing person report. Went to the police and filed the missing person report, rather. In it, he wrote, quote, "My girlfriend is missing. I'm filing a report because blank told me to," unquote. And of course, blank is where he refers to the person that instructed him to file the report. 2 days later, June 23rd, Tuesday, a person close to the case finally was able to get Cape Coral Police to come do a walkthrough of the apartment. Gabriel Pena also visited the apartment this day.
A person close to the case tells us that while searchers were at the house, they found 2 phones. One did not work, and one was Lauren's. This struck the person close to the case as odd, since Gabriel previously stated Lauren's phone and purse were not in the house.
Both phones were given to the police detective on Wednesday, June 24th, when the detective was finally assigned to the case. That was 6 days after Lauren had gone missing. It was at that point that her missing person status was changed by the police department to endangered, given all the information the family gave regarding her disappearance.
On June 24th, Paul Dumolo flew in from California. On Thursday, June 25th, he and others close to the case drove around Lauren's neighborhood. They went to the Taco Bell where Lauren worked and found out her last paycheck was never picked up. The people close to this case characterized this as, quote, very suspicious.
On June 27th, Saturday, Paul Dumolo and others close to the case drove to the park. The park where Lauren was purportedly last seen by somebody other than Gabriel. They said they always started their days there to search. When they arrived at the park, they drove up to find 3 police SUVs and a dive team truck there. Boats and divers were in the Bimini Basin actively searching.
That evening, the police said they ordered the dive team search because Lauren's purse had been found in the park the week earlier. The context of her purse included her wallet, ID, and house keys. Those close to the case had been searching the surrounding area for days and would check out her apartment, surrounding neighborhood, and the park at least 2 times a day just to retrace the steps and talk to people.
Now, it's our understanding from the reporting that Gabriel Pena never assisted in any searches. On July 2nd, the people close to the case found Lauren's shirt at the park. Oddly, that was already the second time that day that they had combed the park. Her shirt was laying on the sand by the 3rd pavilion from the Parks and Rec building. This is the pavilion that Jazmine was drawn to when we did our walkthrough of the park a few days ago.
This information confirms our belief that no substantial evidence has surfaced since July 2nd, or that Cape Coral PD has chosen not to share it with those closest to the case. This would make sense to us, as they didn't share with them about the found purse for upwards of a week. By accounts of those closest to Lauren, she has been missing since June 18th. Gabriel Pena says June 19th because that's when he says he saw her last. But there has been 0 activity on her phone after June 18th. So Gabriel Pena's statements are suspect.
Now, Jazmine believes intuitively that whatever happened at night, specifically that night, June 18th. We understand from other sources that Gabriel Pena may be a co-worker of Lauren Dumolo's mother's boyfriend. There are additional details provided by the people close to the case, but they have not given us permission to share them. Now, there are more details that we've been supplied, but we only shared today that which people close to the case gave us permission to share. We care about their anonymity, and we don't want to damage the effort to find Lauren and get her returned home. So we've concluded a couple things. Okay, for starters, we've concluded that on the day the shirt was found, it was the searchers' second combing of the park. This leads us to believe that it had not been placed there days or weeks earlier, but was placed there earlier that day, July 2nd. This means that whoever placed it there must be on camera. And if you want to see what the cameras at that park look like, go back 2 videos in our feed and you'll find a diagram of how all the cameras are laid out, more or less. Since no positive IDs have been made, I have to assume that the camera footage is either unavailable or corrupt, or that the individual who placed it there couldn't be ID'd because he's wearing a face covering or something like that. Now, we did get validation of your intuition about a nighttime altercation or abduction in stating that the actual time of disappearance was the evening of the 18th. Jazmine's sense that Lauren went missing at night was validated. We also got validation that Jazmine's reading of a second male involved in the disappearance may indeed bear some weight, as Lauren's mother's boyfriend and Gabriel Pena are co-workers, according to another source. Gabriel lied about them contacting the police upon first request of Paul Dumolo. It's worth mentioning that Jazmine picked the apartment where Lauren's mother resides out of the lineup as soon as we arrived on site. And we're going to show a clip of that real quick so you can see what that looked like when that happened. So you described it as the apartment with the little wind chimes, and that was later verified by who volunteered other details from your sighting, which we had not yet volunteered, nor had we shown the video. Indicated that the apartment also had sheets or drapes hanging on the second floor. So that validated your intuition on that point. We also got validation of your instinct to get directly to the third pavilion from the Parks and Rec building at the Four Freedoms Park, which until communicating we did not know was the location of the found shirt. It was stated in the public reporting that the found shirt was found on the sand near the water. Mm-hmm. In none of the reporting that I read or watched did it say that the shirt was found near the third pavilion.
And anytime, I think it should be said, anytime I am doing a reading of anything, I go into it completely cold. I don't want to know any details whatsoever that could potentially alter any perceptions that I may have.
The nature of your preference there actually makes it a lot easier to spot validations when they come out, because we know that you didn't know these facts
right
when you intuited them or when you felt them. So here's what that video looks like with you regarding the third pavilion. You can see you pointing at the third pavilion there. Now, we verified with Google Maps and Street View that that's the pavilion that was identified by. You can see it there in the background. And there's a close-up of the picnic table inside the pavilion. So that kind of brings us to where we're at now, which is, I think in some ways we know a little bit more about what happened, and in other ways we definitely don't. But we did get some feedback from people close to the case that helped us to develop some impressions of what happened, and also to validate a number of points that were raised by you intuitively. And I think that's extremely helpful data to the case.
Our entire goal all along is to when we first heard about it, we were touched, like many people that are in the surrounding community, that a woman had gone missing and essentially had vanished. And our only intention was to help spread the awareness regarding the case of Lauren Dumolo missing.
Yeah, we didn't want to insult or disrespect her or the family or anybody involved in the case. We've kept our end of the deal regarding the information that we've been supplied, which is to keep the sources of that information, in some cases, completely anonymous. We continue to be of the opinion that the more information gets out there, the more likely this case is to be solved. And most people out there seem to agree with us. We've gotten many notes on Instagram, Twitter, and even on Facebook, providing positive feedback and people that are happy that we're trying to get this thing cracked, and encouragement from them. So we're glad about that.
We care. We care about justice.
Yeah.
We care about
our community.
And we care about this family that is missing, their sister, their mother, their daughter. Those are the points that those are the people that we are trying to help.
And we've recently been approached by some other people who are interested in getting our help. We can be reached at trouble239.com by email. If you want to follow us online, Tipcast239 on Twitter, Trouble239 on IG, and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher. If you'd like to subscribe, we'd also appreciate if you'd hit the like button and subscribe on YouTube. The bigger the audience, the more people we can get involved in the future.
And share this information. If it resonates with you, the more sharing that happens, the more awareness we can spread and hopefully bring some resolution for the family.
And be brave about it too. Don't be afraid of people saying negative things. If you know that you're doing the right thing in your heart and you're trying to get a positive outcome and you're acting with a heart full of love and earnestness, then don't worry about what people say.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to approach everything going forward. We do have some interesting guests coming up on the show very soon. We're excited about guests that we're going to have in the studio in August. And maybe by then we'll be able to ask him about this case and get his feedback.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
Should we mention?
Well, I can never remember the name of his show.
Oh.
I'm a terrible promoter.
Well, I am going to promote him because he's absolutely fabulous. For those that are into the paranormal or psychic end of the world, the Travel Channel's Dead Files is in season 13 filming right now. And we're going to be blessed to have Steve DeShavi on the show on August the 15th, I believe.
Something like that. I don't know if we're going to live stream it or not, but we do know that.
And his buddy Ray. And if you haven't seen them together, they're a hoot. And they also have
hoots.
They have absolutely incredible backgrounds in law enforcement as well. Paranormal, law enforcement, and
Steve DeShavi's a homicide detective.
He's a retired New York City homicide detective.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if perchance he wants to give some feedback on or off the record about the Lauren Dumolo case, I think we're going to give him that opportunity.
Yep.
He may not want to, and that's fine.
And at the very least, we're going to have some fun with Steve DeShavi and Ray Marino.
Yeah. We did a poll on Twitter a couple days ago saying, which do you prefer?
I saw the poll. I did not click on anything. I'm curious to know what the result was.
Conspiracy theories beat out word games by a hair.
Really?
So, but it was closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be really lopsided.
I thought it was going to be too, and I saw the choice.
Well, somebody commented, and I think you know who it was, commented that conspiracy theories, but I don't want you to get kicked off Twitter. So
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah, it's only the
So-
conspiracy theories that are close to being proven true that get you kicked off Twitter.
Well, if you watched any of the trial today, it was getting a little interesting.
Oh, I watched Jeff Bezos getting nuked by whoever the chairman was for about 3.5 minutes, and I was just
We
like,
may have been watching around the same point because I immediately went over to my Twitter and I was like, this is getting good.
I saw that. Yeah, it's. I didn't think it was getting good at all because Bezos didn't have a cohesive, coherent thing to say. I just love seeing these guys get beat up because they all know that they have absolute power. Like they have so much market share. It's just kind of entertaining to see them get humbled because Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
I think they said his net worth went up by like $60 billion during the pandemic because everybody was forced to order things through Amazon and everybody was subscribing to Amazon TV's Prime and all that crap.
Yep. Well, that too shall come to light.
I don't know how long the hearing was, but I want to go back and watch the sections that had to do with censorship. As you know, we've covered actually the first episode where we touched on Lauren Dumolo's case was primarily a case about censorship on Google Maps.
Yeah.
And related to the private island that Jeffrey Epstein was taking children to.
But, what a gift having access to that is, as long as it isn't censored.
Yeah, as long as it's not fake.
Right.
And
and just circling back to this case, to be able to look at certain areas and stuff like that, it's really...
Well, it helped us get our plan of attack together for going to Four Freedoms Park, and it helped me understand the lay of the land better.
Well, I think, whenever you use that with the, you physically took pictures of each camera at Four Freedoms Park that were on the building, and all the dome cameras and the bank cameras, and then you put that into Google Map, and then you're able to show this outline, and it's really like when you can see the vast area that those cameras had an opportunity to cover. Yeah. It's really kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's almost damning for whoever, because somewhere along the line, that footage is either there or it's not of the shirt being dropped off.
I really hope that, at that point, if it were that far out and there was this much going on behind the scenes that we are not privy to, that information with like Kate PD, that the family or anyone that may be close to the case was privy to, that they have something on those cameras.
Well, you got to think. Now, I theorized camera system at that park, and I'm going to tell you that it didn't do the trick for the investigators, because if that shirt was brought back the day that they were at the park searching, there's only a certain number of people involved in the case that could have brought it back. And if that person was Gabriel Pena and they couldn't positive ID him on security footage, somebody's getting fired from the IT department because they didn't have a good enough storage or good enough cameras or whatever.
And do we now, going back over those camera angles, that pavilion that I was drawn to, was that actually encompassed in that area? Because
that pavilion was the furthest away from all the cameras, except for the pavilion that was a little bit further west in the grass.
And that one had a light.
That
This
one had
one
a
did
light.
not.
Correct.
This would have been a dark pavilion.
But the shirt was returned to the park during the day. We know that from what was concluded by the combination of information from a couple different people, along with walking the park and knowing what the lay of the land is and the timing of when they visited the park on July 2nd. We know that shirt showed up at the park after their first visit, but before their second one, which was during the day.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of was it too dark out. It may have been a question of are the cameras actually focally distant enough, or do they have a long enough optical throw to actually reach that in
distance.
focus well enough? Yeah, and whether or not they're pointed at the right direction relative to the ground, because 60 degrees is pretty narrow. Anybody that's into the security camera stuff, go back and check out the episode from a couple of videos back, and you can check that out. But
Yeah. And I just want to say once again, thank you to those that reached out to us and provided us with some phenomenal and instrumental information that we hope shed some more light. And again, share it, please.
Yeah,
that
and
way we can hopefully get some resolution here.
follow us, subscribe. Again, trouble@trouble239.com if you want to give any feedback. And everybody stay out of trouble. How do you turn this thing off?